You're watching 12 News at 4.
Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river.
At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors.
And it's horrific and extremely rare and unprecedented.
Yeah, today marks 1 year since American Airlines Flight 5342 took off from Wichita.
That jet collided with a Black Hawk helicopter near Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. before plummeting into the icy Potomac River. All 67 people on board were killed, including 7 people from Kansas. Nearly half of the passengers were from the figure skating community who were in town for the U.S. Championships. Reagan National Airport was in sight, with the plane just seconds away from landing when a military helicopter on a training mission flew in the direct path of the descending plane. Despite efforts from air traffic control to separate the two aircraft, they collided.
There are tributes taking place across the country and here in Wichita. At City Hall today, a prayer vigil to remember those lives lost. Community members heard from the mayor, local faith leaders, and they received prayers from several faiths. One person lost a friend in the tragedy and says she cannot believe that this many people are still showing support a year later.
It's kind of comforting that people still remember, because I'm so close with their family and just everyone who was involved. Of course they remember it, but I don't really expect many other people to. But the fact that everyone still does means something.
Then you walk through a storm.
We'll have more from that vigil in our second half hour. Meantime, in Alexandria, Virginia, the mayor there is proposing a permanent memorial in a park along the Potomac River.
This anniversary's been on a lot of minds this week, including those traveling through the airport here in Wichita. That's where a permanent memorial is set up to honor the crash victims. Airport officials say travelers appreciate the acknowledgement and have been taking the opportunity to reflect. Some say they think the memorial sends a message.
People are appreciative of the acknowledgement and like the opportunity to come in and reflect and see some of the pictures that were taken from when it first occurred.
Others say it's also a reminder to keep your loved ones close and make sure they know that you love them.
Well, of course, this tragedy shined light on air traffic safety problems. So last month, U.S. senators passed the Rotor Act, what would require all aircraft to communicate their real-time location with other pilots if it passes the House. Dylan Domang's in Washington, D.C., and he has been following this legislation from the beginning with Senator Jerry Moran.
On the night of the mid-air collision, Kansas Senator Jerry Moran says he had just gotten home when he received a call that there was an incident involving a flight from Wichita and he needed to get to Reagan Airport. From that night and in the years since, he says the victims' families have been advocates for more safety measures just like the Rotor Act. This week, I sat down with Senator Moran as he remembered back to January 29th and the strength that the families have shown since.
The crash site just is probably the most damning, most meaningful, most difficult thing to observe. And the river and the water, and it all just comes back.
With the NTSB released with their findings and the likelihood that both pilots on both aircraft did not see each other until the very end, did those findings only reassure the need for the Rotor Act?
Absolutely. I'm angry that the Rotor Act does not become law. The answer is the House needs to pass the bill. It needs to become law. It needs to be implemented, and we will all be safer for that occurrance.
Do you believe the Rotor Act would have prevented this crash from happening back on January 29th?
Well, I don't want to hedge on this, but I believe that the likelihood of a fatal crash is greatly reduced when you have the technology that the two pilots can see what they're flying next to, near, underneath in this case. There's just no question in my mind, but that would have made a significant difference. Maybe you're right. It would have been a near miss, but each of those aircraft pilots seeing each other, how could that not make things just significantly safer?
We really want to honor those victims and their families. The grief that they must be feeling, it's something we can never truly imagine, but Every NTSB hearing they have been at, all of these meetings they are in there for. How strong have they been during this?
There's no one in this process, no elected official, no cabinet secretary, nobody at the FAA or an air traffic control controller who makes a better case for solving, for addressing these issues than the family members of those who lost family lives on that day a year ago.
At a memorial event this week, one family member said that all 67 families have been united as one, leaning on one another, using their voices to push for safer skies. Reporting here in D.C., I'm Dylan Doming.
Now, if you missed any of our Fact Finder coverage with Annette Lawless and Dylan Domang, you can still catch it on our free streaming app. You can download 12 News Connected on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV device. Just search KWCH 12 News.
Well, we're getting used to the cold. Now we've got more snow in the forecast, perhaps. Not like we saw last week.